Hey everybody, how y'all doing? I am here. I am a tiny bit late well, I'm not late overall getting to the show, but what I am is late uh, as far as getting ready before the song ended. I was not quite ready, and I knew it. And I'm going through. I started this thing where I've created this checklist that I can look at, so I can make sure that I get some essential things right, especially in the midst of recording. So I have a checklist here which I was completing, and I wasn't quite done, and I was like, no, no, they can wait another 30 seconds. And so I let the song loop. That's right, I chose to let the song loop. So I'm coming back here. Now I got my checklist go here. I got microphone is on off. I checked that. Got check microphone input. I can see that I got a microphone thing on there. That's just a basic way to double check, because sometimes you think that it's up because, well, you can be fooled. I'll just say you can be fooled. Ask me how I know. So that check was not enough. So I've added another element, and then pause video. So the video is paused because I have a way places that I want places to end at certain points, and for the break and then for the end of the show. So I make sure I got that there. That's where I wanted pause, right about there. That's why I paused it before the song looped. Yeah, I did that. By the way, this is just the pre-show stuff. This isn't the start of the show yet. This is my way, I guess you could say, of getting a little bit warmed up here. So then I can get to the next one. And I'm going to have checklists that I go through. I don't have them all here, but tomorrow's show I'll do that. What my hope is I take feedback from folks, and some I've had some helpful feedback, made some changes because of the feedback, and I'm doing things what I want to do. Well, if I had my druthers, I would just do whatever I want and not worry about anything, and not really worry about my audience or what the audience wants, needs, what would work best for them. I want to effectively communicate with my audience. So to that end, I have certain degrees of sacrifices in preference to what I imagine might work better for an audience than what I might prefer. Even some things that I might prefer to listen to, I have to understand that to some degree, my tastes are so, and this is true of all of us. So we all have tastes that are common, and we all have esoteric tastes. And so you got to make sure that you're not doing the esoteric taste, unless it's like sometimes my esoteric taste. There's a lot of things I do in the show that actually is to satisfy my esoteric taste that I'm not getting rid of. I don't even care. But I have certain areas where I will negotiate with my own mind, so to speak, and say, okay, you can do this. Yeah, I know you wouldn't rather this, but on the main, this is something that doesn't really cut to the core of the essence of what you want the show to be. So maybe you can concede on this point, so to speak. So hopefully my strategy, I am 8 or let's say I am the start of the 4th week of the 8-week plan, which was not an 8-week plan until recently. I had a general vague assumption of 8 weeks, possibly 12 weeks, and I do have a 12-week plan too. But the 8-week plan is to train myself and to tighten the ship and to do what's got to be done, so that basically I am de facto the greatest podcaster of all time, even if nobody knows it. And then within the next 4 weeks after that, I will become the greatest podcaster of all time. This is the humble aspirations for which this show is designed to produce. So you guys are all on the fun as I create the greatest podcaster. I will become the greatest podcaster, and yet still fulfill my core mission to communicate with my audience what I hope is the essential mission. The essential mission is to be a steward of your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own actions. And if you do, you will come to understand just how worthless, broken, vulnerable, and weak and pathetic you are. And yet at the same hand, how powerful you are in terms of being able to influence your own life in ways that you don't even imagine. But in the end, what you come down to is an understanding that because of that brokenness, you need people that are strong like you. Because it's the people who are strong are the people that know how broken they are and yet still say, I don't care, I'm going forward anyway. Those are the strong. When you know how vulnerable you are and you just keep going, you have stop or go. That's the only choice. And if you come to understand that, then I believe that you will come to consensual forms of understanding and preference, and it will do things. It will change you fundamentally. It certainly has changed me. It's a message of self stewardship, and a self stewardship that immediately recognizes the necessity of being surrounded by self stewards and forming your consensual associations, which enable you to live fundamentally off the grid. Just fundamentally off the grid. We have the technology, the power, the resources. This is what this whole show is really about. Everything here. These are and it has to sing for me also. There's a part two. I have to the songs. There has to be stories that I can combine to sing. So I think I would love to talk more, but this is part of my tightening the ship here. I have gone as far as I will allow myself to go in this introduction. So we're going to do the prep. This is the little prep for some of you folks out there. Y'all know who you are. I love you dearly, but y'all know y'all need Jesus. I meant that in a larky, whatever kind of way, not in a preachy way. I'm not a preacher.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is foreign to the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? You know who I am? I'm Frico. I talk the news. That's what I do. I do this Monday through Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on dlive.tv/Frico. On this episode of Frico Talks the News for Tuesday, April 28th, 2020, we're going to have Diamonds Are an Energy's Best Friend. The power of fusion compels you to decouple from large-scale systems. It's not the DNA, it's the regulating molecules that make us who we are. Earliest known life forms. Oh, that's the news poem for the day. The Irish consider making social media pay for news links. Following Australia's lead. Twitter has a nation-state problem, as do all other digital highways not serving nation-states. It's your nation-state world, folks. I'm just visiting. I'm a sojourner in a nation-state land, but I respect the rules. I respect the reality of power, so I'm no rebel. I'm not tearing anything down or trying to tear things down. Well, in a manner of speaking, I guess you could say I am, because if I could somehow magically green Thanos snap people to this self-sustainability, consensual associative sustainability off-grid, so to speak, in independent, decentralized, self-sustaining systems. Yeah, if I could green Thanos snap my way to that, well then, hey, then I wouldn't. That'd be a different story. But for now, because this is our reality, I think you're going to enjoy that dialectical. Now, how did we get here, folks? That's what we want to know. That's what everybody wants to know, right? How did we exactly get here? And for that, we're gonna say we all ended up at Frico.com. That's where we all end up in the end. So the only thing you'd be sure of is death, taxes, and you'll end up on Frico.com. That's the whole design. You get there. Sign up for the email list. You get on the email list. I build a massive email list and make gazillions of dollars and retire. This is a 2-year plan. So get on board and get on over there and get yourself registered on this site, because you want to be part of this. That's the plan. But I get my links from newsalite.com, the glitch, the odd, the under the radar, the hard to believe news at a glance. These are my sites. I aggregate them. I pick 10 stories from here and I bring them on Bring them on back over to Freako. And then I go on over to Obamacare.TV, and that's where I collect my links for free market social engineering for the masses. Now, if you go to these links, they just go to the various news sources. It's all, but these links, I go through 300 to 400 or so links on each of these sites, and you'll see where the raws are. Where the raws are, you get a lot of. You'll get some stuff in there, but there's some stuff. They're called raws for a reason. But anywhere up from wires on up, these links are pretty good, relevant. They've been filtered for the most. Well, they've been filtered. A couple of bad links do get through every once in a while, but by and large, you get good links, you get good stories. And then pioneering news, tech, science, underground news links. That's 12 links that get on over to Freako.com, and then I got 32 stories that I assembled to tell a story, to tell a song. And the song that we're going to sing today, well, let's unveil it like this. How about we do it like this? I think this is a new kind of thing I'm going to try here and see how this works. There we go. There's our story. Life as we think it, the new normal, is a fascist Trojan horse. Now I try to not be controversial, and so today is kind of a safe show. So I want you to note that it has been 15 days since I've had a freak out, and I am going for day 16, and despite the title, I feel good about my chances. Now, I don't want to get hubristic. I don't want to fly too close to the sun and fall to my death here, but I feel, well, metaphorical in Minecraft, temporary death, because I'm still going to get up and keep going, even if I die today. Even if I die today, tomorrow I'm going to show up and do the show. All right, because, stop or go. That's what you do, stop or go. That's the fundamental driver of human action that human beings, well, never mind. Don't get off on a tangent. You could tip your Freako. You go to Freako.com, you find these buttons. If you click on one of these buttons, I'm not going to click on it now, but if you click on one of these buttons, it takes you to PayPal, and you have to have a PayPal account, so get a PayPal account if you don't have one already. And this is where you can pay me money to do the stuff that I do. And if I start making gazillions of dollars, I promise you, I will feed the poors or something. Well, I am the poors. Well, we all are the poors. And very few of us are not the poors. But anyway, I'll do something. I'll cure something. I don't want to say like anything that's serious that people would have hope of. I'll be something really, really minor probably, but I'll ham it up and make it seem like it's a big deal to justify the gazillions of dollars that I'm going to use to hoard and build an empire, a 15-mile square empire, a city of 20,000. Never mind. You've said too much. This is Freako Talks the News. Let's get ready for our first segment. Let's see how my checklist goes here, because I am going to use my checklist here. Let's get to our first one, and that is going to be our headline. So let's get this lined up here. Oh, look, make a note there. Get the Freako Talks Daily delivered to your email. Oh, you know what? I should do that. Never mind. Pretend you didn't see this. You guys are witnessing on the live stream. I'm recording the segments, and I do stuff in between, but I do unique stuff in between. So the live stream is worth it, definitely. You definitely want to be watching the live stream on dlive.tv/FREEQO. So we're going to record the first segment here, and that is the headline. So we're going to hear segment start record. All right, so let's get here. We got our microphone on, our check microphone input. We got all that going on. We got our segment end. Now we're here. We're just going to get to the segment start record. So we're going to hit record here. This is the talk headlines for Freako Talks the News on, Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. I almost forgot. I am Freako with Freako.com, and our top headline today is diamonds are an energy's best friend. But first, head on over to Freako Talks Daily at Freako.com/daily, and be sure to register. Give us your big, fat, juicy, free email, and we will give you a big, fat, free, juicy email back in return. That's how it works. Reciprocity, my friend, reciprocity. This is an excerpt from Cosmos magazine. Diamonds may shine in energy storage. Australian researchers have proposed the design of a new carbon nanostructure made from bundles of diamond nanothreads. Haifi Zahn and colleagues from QUT described their approach, based around ultra-thin, one-dimensional carbon threads that store energy when twisted or stretched, in a paper in the journal Natural Communications. Based around your ultra-thin, one-dimensional carbon threads. Whoa. Okay, so now as I'm reading this, just at this cursorial level, this is almost creating energy from the kinetic flow of... Okay. Just let's see. I don't want to get ahead of myself because that would... Okay. Similar to a compressed coil or children's wind-up toy, energy can be released as the twisted bundle unravels. So this is a way to... Okay, so this is basically power storage. And the storage, the question is how much power does it cost to compress this down? And, well, you know, I don't know what those... Let's see what they've got going on here. It's early days, but the researchers say the new nanostructure has the potential to provide micro-scale power supply for applications across sensing, robotics, and electronics. So especially for things that have small power needs, if you had this maybe in micro-scale, and it could create the micro power needed to run the micro device. So it's a more, I'm assuming it's a more... Okay, so here we go. Okay, so it is, like they said, this is a mechanical system as opposed to, I guess, chemical, rather electrochemical reactions. Okay, there you go. So mechanical system is lower risk than options such as lithium-ion batteries, which use electrochemical reactions to store an energy and release energy. They found that the energy density of a nanothread bundle, how much energy it could store for its mass, was 1.76 megajoules per kilogram, which was 4 to 5 orders higher than a conventional steel spring, and up to 3 times. Okay, so there's the key. Now, what I would like to know is how much does this weigh compared to this? One thing, I feel more secure with this than I do with this. So that's a huge... What they're talking about at the micro level, imagine now you have a whole cluster bluster of these things. We're getting closer and closer, by the way, folks, to what I have been talking about. I'm going to I'm just going to give you a... This is well worth for me repeating over and over, because I'm hoping that scientists see my stuff. I'm hoping that the doctors, the science, the people that working on this, that somehow, because they might be looking for their names, their mentions, whatever. And if you do see this and you're one of these folks, contact me and tell me I'm an idiot, or tell me, dude, you're not far off. And my idea is you're going to have eventually what you'll want to ultimately have, if you want to have thoughts, ideas to remain free. This is critical, that you empower human beings to be able to create their own IP where they are, where they live. You give them the incubation system for them to create their AIs, family of AIs probably. I'm not sure how it would work, but you might have an essential set of 4 to 12, whatever it would turn out to be, of these AIs. I think that there would be advantages to having AIs not so fully trained, but able to collectively ascertain the whole, but not... Well, anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the point is basically that every human being would have the full intelligence augmentation powers as any other human being, at the highest level to the lowest level. The idea is that the homeless person has an AI family with them, giving them the optimal way to choose to live, quote unquote, homeless. There are people that are just nomadic. Some of these folks. Now, I'm not talking about. There's plenty of homeless people that are. I don't know the dynamics fully of homeless, so I don't want to wander into that minefield. But there are people who are fundamentally nomadic in nature. You might call them homeless, and they're just we don't want to. We pitch tents. We don't build frames. Those kind of folks. That there's people that I guess still have that type of living fits within their frameworks of preference for whatever reasons, and there's a variety of reasons I could theorize, but it doesn't matter. And this could heighten that arrival. Some of the fundamental impediments to it, of course, is could you have an AI that small, and could it be powered in that as non-threatening a manner to the human as possible? And mechanical systems, they could certainly enhance that possibility. And this is just the beginning. So right now it's 3 times, and they don't. I mean, I think that we may create mechanical systems in the end that are able to release. I don't even know. It'll be enough that I'll have my AIs. We'll all have our AIs. It'll be a level playing field. That's where that's a fundamental source of power, is the ability to master the ideational constructs that allow us to, I'll just say, influence the actions of others. And those who are adept at it, well, they can do powerful things, and it's not always and hardly ever to the good of the whole, so to speak. Just Donut is now the battle cry of lasers. Trust me. And this is an excerpt from SciTech Daily. Scientists tame electron bunches to generate brighter X-ray beam with, quote, donut laser, unquote. It's a donut laser. That's why I did the picture. There's a donut. Donuts, baby. I wanted to find the Just Donut Homer Simpson thing for this, but I couldn't find anything that was copyright freeable. So, a team of scientists has come up with a way to improve electron bunches and produce brighter X-ray beams. Put a ring on them. The team, which includes researchers from the Department of Energy SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory and Stanford University, published their results in physical review letters earlier this month. At X-ray-free electron lasers, such as SLAC's linear coherent light source. Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to try. Let's try to understand this as we go along. Scientists compress and accelerate electron bunches to nearly the speed of light. Okay. They can. Okay. Just true. Okay, that first part is quite a doozy. Then wiggle them back and forth through a series of magnets to create X-rays. So the X-rays are created by electrons that are traveling at nearly the speed of light. Well, they're traveling at compress and accelerate. So I'm assuming they're slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. And this process, somehow, in some Star Trek-y kind of way to me, because I have no idea, it goes from, oh, well, you just accelerate the electron bunches to nearly the speed of light, and then, boom, you have an X-ray. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in between those two that they missed out on, and probably I wouldn't understand anyway. But needless to say, these X-rays are then used to investigate biological, chemical, and material samples, enabling scientists to create high-resolution images of how their molecular structures move. This technique increases the overall quality of electron bunch. Carbajo said it provides precise control over the shape of electron beam, so it can be seminal in magnifying the performance of scientific instruments relying on them, such as storage rings, linear accelerator, and light sources. Now, to me, the most interesting part of this is that I got these electrons going at near the speed of light, and what other kind of... There's got to be some other weird side effecty ramification-y thingies that you could figure out. You could harness and hone and put in a controlled form that could enhance again, could enhance the individual's capacity to create on their own. I just probably things we can't even imagine that are on the other side of that kind of action. But this in and of itself, at the very least, I'm assuming that they're going to be able to understand all of these things at much more, at significantly more detailed levels than they do now. And if they do, Lord knows what they're going to discover in the folds of that of detailed magnification. So that is certainly something that this leads to all kinds of avenues. It can't even. This is so multi. This thing just focuses on. And now what I do is I look at these articles. I scan through them. The best I can do, because I look at a lot of articles, is now I don't scan through all the articles, but I get it down my 1,200 or however many links it ends up being that day. I get it down to, roughly speaking, maybe about 100 or so stories that those will get some degree of checking on websites to see what this is and if this is something I'd consider and understanding. Sometimes I see a headline that looks, oh, that looks like an interesting story, and I gotta verify this, and then I go and look at it. And it's like, oh, okay. So, and then when I do decide to put the excerpts up, I try to get like the most essential. Like, these are not just random excerpts that I'm adding here. I'm trying to give you, at the very least, the essential points without giving away too much, because you really got to go to their website to get the full stories for this particular things. These are headlines. So for this, I could not find anything that really showed the application of this other than this part right here, which is magnifying the performance of scientific instruments, relying on them, such as storage rings, linear accelerators, and light sources. And I don't pretend to understand what they are. And I did a little bit of looking into this, and it would have taken me a lot longer to try to figure it out the time that I just didn't have. So I'll leave it at that for now. But I think this discovery is pretty. I can't imagine the fullest ramifications of this, but I'm sure some of you, if you happen to be a scientist, doctor, or whatever person that might have some, or a hobbyist, whatever you might be, comment down below if that's true, and let me know what this really is, if I'm totally missing the mark or if I'm on the right track. The Syrian Lebensraum strategy of the Turks. And this is an excerpt from AAWSAT. Turkey continues efforts to carry out demographic change in northern Syria. The Turkish army and its loyal factions continue displacing the remaining residents in all areas that fall under their control in northeastern Syria as part of the demographic change policy, a Human Rights Observatory announced. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said Turkish forces and their proxies are moving forward with their systemic approach implemented in Afrin and other areas under their Operation Peace Spring. It said this comes in light of the demographic change they seek to bring about in areas that were controlled by the Syrian Democratic Forces. Families from eastern Ghouta and other Syrian areas are being housed in several areas in Raqqa and Hasaka, which have been captive recently by Turkish forces and proxies, replacing the civilians who were forced to displace. Abductions and arbitrary arrests still continue targeting residents, both Kurds and Arabs, in areas under control of operations, quote, Peace Spring, unquote, and, quote, Olive Branch, quote, factions. It's stress. That's so wonderful. Peace Spring. Look, they can't even, I don't know, something peace. How about spring? Because we're launching it in the spring? Is that when we're going to start bombing civilians? Yep. Oh, great. That's so cool. That's perfect. Peace Spring it is. Hey, we gotta change. We gotta revitalize the Turks and our Turkish. You got the Turkish nationalist fervor that gives us the support to send our boys to get killed in foreign lands. Let's come up with another name, but it's got to be peaceful. Peaceful, man. Peaceful. All right. Did we do Peace Spring? Dude, it's not even spring. Oh, that's right. It's the one, and we did it all. Oh, we did it already. Oh man, I don't know, man. I don't know. How about Peace Pipe? No, not Peace Pipe, man. Our boys, they like to smoke that smokes. No, that just you can't do that. What's another thing for like Olive Branch? There you go. Let's call it Olive Branch. Boom, winner. That's the level of thinking I'm thinking is going on there in Turkestan with that kind of disjointed reality in those. Hey, we're no better. So I don't know, America. We're very few nation states are when it comes to naming their campaigns of liberation. Yeah. Well, Desert Storm was aptly named. I say that. Operation Desert Storm. That was what is it? Operation Enduring Freedom or whatever all these other names. I don't know. I'm not going to get down that tangent because this has been already 16 minutes for the segment, and that's the end of this segment. Well, almost. I want to encourage everyone to go on over to freako.com/daily and get your email entered into my fat grabby hands so I can send you the daily link to, well, the daily. I can give you it'll be the whole daily. It's going to be a daily. It's beautiful, man. The whole daily for the whole show. You get all the videos, everything. At the end of the day, you get it all sent to you by tomorrow. You know, it's all right there for you. That's what you get. That's free. Coming up next, this is the 4 o'clock show on the Action Batsa YouTube channel. At the 5 o'clock show, it's going to be the talk feature. And that talk feature is going to be The Power of Fusion Compels You to Decouple from Large-Scale System. Well, you're going to have to wait till 5 o'clock for that. But if you're watching DLive.tv/FREEQO, you don't have to wait. But YouTube, you do. Okay, so that was a little. I'm using my checklist here, and I gotta make sure to put this right where you guys can't see us. This is off camera, folks. This is all off camera, of course. This is all off camera. So where the segment ends thing, I want to make sure I kind of have that. Okay, so actually I did pretty good. I did follow the segment end thingy correctly, and now we're ready to go to the next segment. How about that? We're going to do the feature segment. Let's get everything lined up and coordinated and collaborated. So for the talk feature, I think we won't do the promo. We're at the beginning for this one. I think that's what we'll do. We'll keep the promos to just at the end, not at the beginning. Well, we might mix it up. I'm talking out loud, guys. You guys are getting to see how I'm working this stuff out. I'm going to take a sip of water before I do this recording, though. This probably is going to be a regular part of the show. Whew. The most terrifying thing for a human being when they're not watching any chats or they have no chats, either way, is talking and then reaching to turn the microphone off and finding it's already off. That is a horrifying thought. You must do whatever you can do to assure that this does not happen. This is one thing that I'm working on, assuring never happens. Because if it does, I will literally defenestrate the first organism that comes across my path. Yes. All right. That would be myself. Wait. Metaphysically, that. Okay. Let's get the talk feature recorded. Are you ready? Let's get snuggled in there. This is the talk feature for Freako Talks the News on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. I am Freako for Freako.com. And on today's feature, we are going to talk The Power of Fusion Compels You to Decouple from Large-Scale System. Sorry, I was liking my own. Well, it's not my music. This isn't mine. This is copyright-free music, but I like this. Maybe I shouldn't have picked this because you shouldn't like your background music too much in general. But I will do this, though. I think I'm going to turn it down just a smidge. Just a tiny smidge. Yeah. There, that's a little better. All right. The oft-promised glory and power, literally, of fusion energy is now just a stone's throw away, according to General Fusion Inc., which promises, you know what? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this recording, folks. You get to see this in action, because you know what? I'm going to do this right. I am going to do. So what you get there was a false recording. I don't want to put that up on YouTube like that. You guys understand. So we're going to do this opening again. Except, yeah, we're gonna get through this, kids. I appreciate your patience. This is also probably gonna be part of the show. Sometimes I'll start recording and I realize I screwed something up and I'll have to stop and redo. So that is part of the show. That regular feature that'll never change. This is the talk feature for Freako Talks the News on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. And I am Freako with Freako.com. Today's talk feature: the power of fusion compels you to decouple from large-scale systems. The oft-promised glory and power, literally, of fusion energy is now just a stone's throw away, according to General Fusion Inc., which promises commercial application of real fusion-powered systems within the next 5 years. Should fusion enter into our universe at any viable level, it will cripple the advantage of power scarcity that those in control of those resources currently enjoy. The promise of fusion means, relatively speaking, portable, relatively inexpensive, cheap. I guess that's redundant. I don't know why I had to really emphasize that point. Cheap energy, renewable energy that can further create. I don't know if it's strictly speaking renewable, but I think it. I guess I don't know how you. I guess it's not really renewable energy. That's probably not exactly. But yeah. It can further create significant localized sustaining advantages for small-scale groups over large-scale groups, whose greatest legitimization of the subhumanizing process of large-scale dependence is the large-scale advantage in producing basic power needs and basic security defense needs. And this is the key. Fusion will effectively end one of the two key justifications for the continuation of these large-scale systems that create artificial scarcity, not just in terms of human external resources, but humans as resources themselves. And they do this by creating centralized systems that offer a finite number of compensating positions. And that's the key, compensating positions, for humans to enjoy the full power of the aggregate understanding to pursue deeper knowing that can be applied to human action. In other words, the experts will be far more numbered than they are now because significant portions of humans will have the resources to create their own alternatives to the current human grinding paths that such large-scale systems need humans in vast majorities to accept and pursue if they are to continue to exist on cheap, disposable commodities like grinders, human grinders, to be exact. So here's an excerpt from Forbes. Is fusion really close to reality? Yes, thanks to machine learning. TAE Technologies, formerly known as Tri-Alpha Energy, announced last year that its fusion reactor was 5 years from commercialization. The notion that you hear fusion is another 20 years away, 30 years away, 50 years away, it's just not true, said Michael Binderbauer, CEO of the company, formerly known as Tri-Alpha Energy, We're talking commercialization coming in the next 5 years for this technology. Binderbauer's announcement was met with predictable skepticism. But TAE is not alone. Vancouver-based General Fusion Inc. is devoting the next 5 years, with support from the Canadian government, to developing a prototype of its fusion reactor. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, announced in 2018 that it expects to bring its fusion reactor to market in 10 years. The 35-nation ITER project expects to complete a demonstration fusion reactor in France in 2025. 2025 is much sooner to 2050, but demonstration and even commercialization remain some distance from market infiltration. Nope. I think you're wrong. You might not see fusion on the ground for a while, Carmen said, but fusion has gone from wonderful and theoretical in someone else's lifetime to a next-generation project. I'm just going to say this. Within 15 years, fusion generators will be real, and human beings will have human fusion generators that they will make themselves with the aid of their AI buddies. Within 15 years, you're going to make your little fusion generators, and everybody will have a fusion generator in the house. Bada boom, bada bing, Bob's your uncle. That's the end of solar and all kinds of stuff. But you won't need it. And your fusion generator also, it'll power your cars, your vehicles, more than enough for anywhere you want to go in the world. So that's the new reality where energy is just, it's like the air. Energy is like the air. That's where we want to get to. And we can get to where energy is like the air. And if we get there, I'm telling you, they know this. This is what they know. The folks that derive their living, their advantage from artificial scarcity. I don't believe in a post-scarcity universe. I think we're always going to have scarcity in some areas of our lives. But we don't need to have scarcity in energy. That's one of the areas where we don't need to have scarcity. So, and we're I think on a number of fronts. This is just one potential front. In a number of fronts, we're close to solving that fundamental question. Being able to have not limitless, but in terms of what we would use it for, to us in our scales of how we would need it, what we would do with it. Limitless energy, portable, limitless energy. It's a reality that's not far from happening. Is fusion really close to reality? Okay. Yes, thanks to machine learning, and that's another part of it. One of the reasons why a lot of this, that we can't really predict how much the limitations that we have in terms of processing power, for instance, in terms of quantum computing. So much of it is tied to the ability to harness the level of energy you need to get that level of processing, which also creates the heat problem, solving the heat problem. So that's another fundamental part of this. So if you could solve those problems, if you could, for instance, create very, very highly stable, really portable blocks of whatever that are your energy cubes or whatever you want to call them, and you could just put them into things, then suddenly, all of this is wonderful except the scenario where that technology is patented, copyrighted, IP'd, and controlled by one or a handful of companies that are fundamentally controlled by one or a small number of families that have all the advantage and no worries even about competition. That's what we want to avoid, folks. That is what we want to avoid. So I think that's all I'm going to say here. And I think this is wonderful. And I've been watching fusion energy for a while. And I remember back in 2003, it really was just, is it even possible kind of thing. And now it's come a long way, baby. And I think with the added enhancement of the AIs, it could be that 5 years might not be so far off, and 10 years might not be so far off as far as when it might be commercially available, like at the neighborhood level. So microgrids. That'll be the first application. And then in another 5 years, it'll go from microgrids to... You'll still have microgrids because they'll use them to power the stuff that we share amongst ourselves. But everybody will have that. That's a dream, man. That's a dream. Come on. Come along with me on that ride. Don't forget to tip your news, by the way. Go to freako.com and scroll through till you see one of these things. That's the best way to do it. Click on that and you PayPal me. Send me your monies. There's like $1, $2, and $5 levels. You don't get anything for it other than you get to feel like you have a good heart because you took care of this poor, pathetic Freako and his quest to become the... Well, it's not a quest. It's already done once I decided it. As you know, I am Freako. So when I say I am going to be the greatest podcaster of all time, it's already done. It's just watching. You get to watch it unfold, and you get to be a part of it. You get to say, "Hey, man, I supported you early on, and I'll have a fondness for you." And because of that fondness, as I become the greatest podcaster in the universe, I'm going to remember you early, folks, and you guys will have a seat at the table when I say, "Hey, I want to talk to some of my folks and see, like, what do you guys think I should do?" I'll call you guys. Yeah, I'll call the early supporters. That's what I'll do. That's what you get. You get that heartfelt love right there. Coming up next on the Action Batsa YouTube channel, it's going to be the Talk Focus. That's the 6 o'clock show, the halfway point for the live stream show. So the Action Batsa YouTube channel, you have to wait till 6 p.m. But if you're watching the live stream show that started 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on dlab.tv/Freako, that's Freeqo, you don't have to wait. Alrighty. So I'll look over here and make sure I've got everything going on there. There we go. I checked my microphone. I'm just checking everything all the time now. I'm doing my stuff and checking everything, and I got to make that transition. Notice that I had the light already turned off, and for those of you who watched a couple shows, you know what I'm talking about. I turned the light off on my way out the door. And each of these scenes is really a room to me, and the music is light. The music is light. Music is light. I'm going to take a little bit of a water break here as I get ready for the last segment of the first half of the show. That is some tasty water. It's not tasty water, it's just water. It's not even cold water. For the most part, I don't drink cold water that much. No, I do prefer it. I just don't want to go through the... Well, it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why. Let's get ready to do the Talk Focus. Let's stay on point and let's get the Talk Focus done. This is part of my mission to offer you a better product. I want to serve you, the public, the general public, with the awesome good news of the power of technology to create consensual stewards rather than cooperative sheep. I'd rather be a consensual steward, wouldn't you? To be a consensual steward, you need a whole bunch of consensual stewards around you. That's key. All right, let's get this started. All right, this is the Talk Focus for Freako Talks the News on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. Our top focus, it's not the DNA, it's the regulating molecules that make us who we are. And don't forget to go on over to freako.com and tip your Freako, because you know you want to. Just click on that button and PayPal me some of your hard-earned Coronaville dollars or your Coronaville stimulus dollars, just because you love me. If you want to understand humanity, it might not be the DNA that is the key. We've been thinking of DNA as being the fundamental building blocks of life since it was first discovered over 50 years ago. Since that initial discovery, our understanding of DNA has only modeled our initial assumptions, including the basic assumptions that DNA is the building block of life. Turns out, it might not be the regulators that make the decisions about what gets used and what does not get used in the DNA. The DNA might turn out to be not the building blocks, but the raw materials the building blocks are created from. Building blocks created by regulating molecules. not by regulating molecules, but by regulate. You get it, right? They're molecules that regulate. So the regulators, the molecule regulator. I know. I don't know, man. There's just no way, because it still sounds like I'm saying that I'm actually regulating molecules, but I'm not. I'm describing molecules that are regulators. You guys get that, right? So this is an excerpt from Science Daily. Researcher develops potentially revolutionary framework for heredity and evolution in which inheritable information is stored outside the genome. I think that's pretty big news. What do you tell me? You tell me. Comment down below if that's true. Scientist persons, if you happen to be Anthony Jose and somehow you found this because I mentioned you, Associate Professor of Cell Biology and Molecular Genetics at University of Maryland. Oh, he disagrees. All right. Oh, well, no, he disagrees with the initial assumption. Okay. The common view of heredity is that all information passed down from one generation to the next is stored in an organism's DNA. But Anthony Jose, Associate Professor of Cell Biology and Molecular Genetics at the University of Maryland, disagrees. In 2 new papers, Jose argues that DNA is just the ingredient list, not the set of instructions used to build and maintain a living organism. The instructions, he says, are much more complicated, and they're stored in the molecules that regulate a cell's DNA and other functioning systems. So I need to get through this. This is a bit of... So let's start here. So this is... Okay. This is when I originally looked at the story and I got it prepared and I did the writing. Now, when I do writing for this, I remember the stories better later, obviously. Some of these stories, even if I've got the headline and I've read I sometimes don't even remember them so it's like I'm looking at them new again in a lot of instances. You'll notice that. So in this case, I remember more about this, and I remember this is immediately when I saw this, I was proud of myself because I was like, oh yeah, I was right. This is what he's saying. Yeah. That DNA is small victories. DNA is just the ingredient list. It's not the set of instructions. It isn't what creates us. That's the fundamental thing. The instructions are much more complicated, and they're stored in the molecules that regulate a cell's DNA. So the key to understanding the human composition is in looking at those molecules. Now that is just incredibly intriguing. I'm going to give myself no more than 3 minutes for this. I'll do my best, trying to be disciplined. I have a general theory, and I've mentioned it before, and I will repeat stuff over and over again, if nothing else, so you'll remember it better, and also because so many people, this is the only thing they'll ever see of me. So my theory is, and it might be this guy if you're listening, my theory is, Mr. Jose, if you're out there, or Jose, wait, no, it's your last name, right? Hold on. Yeah, Anthony Jose. Anthony Jose, Mr. Jose, Dr. Jose, I guess, right? Dr. Jose? Right? It didn't say he's a doctor. I'm assuming he's a doctor. I think I can reason. I'm going to just assume he's a doctor and say it doesn't call him a doctor. So if I'm calling you a doctor and you're not, pretty confident you're a doctor. So Dr. Jose, if you're out there, you can answer me the question how ridiculous this sounds or doesn't sound. And that is my assumption in these molecules, the idea that there's something in these molecules that decides what I'll be. Not just what I'll be, but we understand it's DNA doesn't settle, it shifts, it changes, it evolves even within your lifetime. So within your lifetime, these molecules are making decisions. And then there's always that who's zooming who question. Are the molecules thinking you, or are you thinking the molecules, so to speak? Don't know the answer. I think it's both. And it's a dialectical. We are dialectically structured, right? This is why, yeah, well, generally we're dialectically structured. And my thoughts are that we have to stop thinking of the mind as being just this area here. This is just one part of the mind. This is the cerebellum, whatever you want to call it. I think it's just cerebellum. I don't know what the cerebellum is. It just part of the brain? I don't know. The brain matter, whatever. I believe that the mind, the decision-making process of what makes us take action in the first place, that is the entirety of the human body, and every cell has a degree of decision-making power that not all parts of the body have access to. And so the mind is kind of this, I guess it's kind of this, it's an uneasy union at best. I'll just say that. And when I see things like this really makes me think that it's kind of where science is starting to discover. They're starting to understand that, things are never as simple as they seem, and the more you dig them, you keep thinking that you're close to understanding the building blocks, and then you realize there's this whole thing on the other side that unfolds. And that's what, if he's right, and I don't know whether he is or not, that's what's happened here. It's like somebody just opened up a door. You're sitting in a room, and you think this is the universe, and you come to map out every part of that room, and you got every detail, every nook and cranny you got, and you've gone over it 5-6 times, and you've got this. You just gotta understand some little gray areas, and one of them gray areas, a little detail in the room that you miss behind the clock, and you look, there's a little tiny little speck that you never really noticed, and you go to clean it off. When you do, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this panel flies on up, and the whole wall on the other side of your room just falls away, and you look out and you see like 1,500 more rooms. That's what has just happened here, if this is true. So this is fantastic. Let's get to the second focus story. Big Amazon's Coronaville conquests. While we are focused into our hovels, awaiting master's permission to venture out into the dangerous Coronaville's world once again, systems and structures are being destroyed and reformed in ways that, it would appear, significantly favor those who have versus those who have not. Amazon, of all of the haves, may be the biggest winner of them all. With the megacorp, the de facto state of Amazon, that sprawls the entire world with its reach, its influence, and, more importantly, with a lack of full accountability to any one nation state that such an international state of corp affords. I keep wanting to say core, whatever. It's corp. It's just short for corporation. But they're a corpo state in really the truest sense of the term, if there is such a term that has been finitely defined. And if it hasn't been, well, I think even if it has been finitely defined, it's up for debate. It's a fluid definition. We'll settle on one soon, I'm sure, because whatever it is, they're it. The continued loss of the small will continue to benefit the large, even as technologies continue to work to undermine the advantage of the large over the small. Let me put this another way. For my Amazon friends, your days are numbered. Your conquest will be short-lived. As I stressed throughout this show again and again and again, the ability for large-scale systems to continue to justify their increasing demands on our lives to sustain them is diminishing rapidly. And all that we have to do, if we could just stop yelling at each other for 5 seconds, and we say, hey, okay, fundamentally what everybody wants is a good life here and now. What if I told you we can do that? That you don't need reparations, Black America, but you'll get what you would get with reparations, which is the land of plenty, where you get to live on your terms and define your life. And you decide in the end whether Black America wants to be part of all of America. And all of America gets to decide that in the end. Whatever factions you've imagined you belong to, you all get to decide at some point. I'm part of this too. I've decided already, though. I've decided I'm throwing in with all of America. Now, I am not throwing in with any one faction. So I am all of America or none of America. That's my camp. And I mean, when I say all of America, yes, I mean everybody who's here. The only threat that we have from the people that are here is how billionaires are using the people that are here they're non-citizens that are not licensed to be here. That's what they are. They're human beings, but in a legal sense, they're non-citizens that are not licensed to be here. The only threat that they are, and they are a threat to many factions in America, and they're not the threat. How they're being used and how they would be used is the threat. They would be used for drone votes for billionaires, and they don't even know it. Drone votes for billionaires that offer more command and control, centralized, thug, coercive nation statism. And even the quote-unquote globalists are still nation staters. They just want to create one nation state. But they don't want to undo the nation state model. They only want to undo it everywhere but in the hands of a few that rule the world. That's what they want. So make no mistake about it. They're not going to actually help the people that are voting for them. They'll give them crumbs. They'll give them sustenance, maybe a little bit more than they would, because the other side will just say bootstraps and let you die. So you don't have an alternative. Your choice is bootstraps and you die, or I get some crumbs. That's really the choice. But if you fundamentally have a Bill of Rights restricted government, and the only way you have a Bill of Rights restricted government is if you have human beings that have this sense of Bill of Rights entitlement. You need that Bill of Rights entitlement and the power to back it up, the power to dissuade others from using force unjustly against them, to use markets unjustly against them, to be able to go off grid. If you can go off grid, and more people can go off grid, trust me, the government will find it in their hearts to be Bill of Rights restricted, not because they love us, not because they don't want to invade our territory, because they always do, but because fundamentally they know if they try, they'll get their giblets handed to them. So this is excerpt from Raw Story. Amazon is strengthening its competitive position in curious ways that could outlast the pandemic and raise antitrust concerns. At a time when much of the retail sector is collapsing, Amazon is strengthening its competitive position in ways that could outlast the pandemic, and that could raise antitrust concerns. Increasingly, manufacturers of in-demand products are catering to Amazon, while competing retailers take the leftovers. Consultants and brave executives told ProPublica, quote, Amazon has the power to bury sellers and suppliers even if they don't comply, unquote, says Sally Hubbard, Director of Enforcement Strategy at Open Markets Institute, a think tank that has been critical of Amazon and other big tech companies. It might be automated through an algorithm, but it's still the wrath of the monopolist that they are afraid of. Amazon is able to cut off its competitors' access to inventory by leveraging its monopoly power. By the way, Raw Story is very, 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 very partisanized, factionalized, angels and demons type of a website. Most websites are, but they're one of the most worst offenders. But I have to say that the story was written in a pretty decent, just like I said, even for Common Dreams, that I consider one of the worst of these types of sites. They still have good writers, and they still have some good articles. So this is not bad, and not a bad story. Not pretty good, pretty well written as well. So yeah, these sites are massive. They got a lot of writers, and so there are good writers out there on the left and the right, by the way, even on Gateway Pundit, like I said. But that's another story. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. There's so much more I could say, but I'm trying to discipline myself to, if I go off on a tangent, I have a new rule, which is generally no more than 2 tangents per episode, but generally only one. So that's the end of this. But coming up next is the news poem. And the news poem is Earliest Known Life Forms. That's the name of the news poem. Now, if you're watching on the YouTube Aktion Batsa channel, and that's ACTIUNE, I'm going to have to get some sort of logo thingy up for that. I'll figure something out there. But if you're watching on the Aktion Batsa YouTube channel, then you have to wait until 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see the news poem. But if you're watching live starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on dlab.tv/Freako, that's FREEQO, then you don't have to wait. Okay. Turned off the music. You got my little close-up here. And now I'm getting ready to go on break. I made it to the halfway point, folks. I thank everybody who's joined me so far in this venture that I call life. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today to get through this show to get through this thing called life. I could go on, but Prince's estate would reach from the grave and snatch my heart for that IPs. Seriously. I don't really care, but that happens. All right, well, that's the end of this half of the show. I will be back in about 3 to 4 minutes. Don't forget to go to freako.com/tip and send me your money because you want to. And you don't really have to, by the way. You don't never have to send me your money to enjoy my show, by the way. You're more than welcome to enjoy my show for free. But if you're rich and you know that you're a nub and you know that I'm talking about you and you know I'm right, then send me your money. No strings attached. Okay? No strings attached. Send me your money. Other than that, it is what it is. I just want 3 or 4 guilty rich people to send me about $150, $600 million each. And then with that, I could literally save the universe from sure doom. Trust me, I'm a doctor. All right. We'll see you in about 3 to 4 minutes. Let's make sure go to break. We're going to make sure our microphone is off when we get to it. We're going to check our mic. Well, we're not doing that yet. Okay. Let's get to our stream intermission here. Here we go. I want to make sure that I'm on the video part. I got the video part stationed up right. I'm going to go and make the transfer to the stream intermission. And I'm going to get ready for the stream in 3, 2, 1.
Love overwhelms me. Love overwhelms me.
We're back. We are back from our hiatus. Back we are, ladies and gentlemen, for Frico Talks the News. Now, I hope you guys understand that it's perfectly reasonable for me to assume that there are some amongst you which might be, I'm going to
Warning, the material
say,
about to be exposed to is for
whoops. Hold on. Okay, I see. We got a little issue going on here. A little glitch in the matrix. Let me just see something real quick. I got to go check this out. This is... Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, I see what happened here. I had a little glitch in the matrix and I figured out what it is, so I know to watch that. Don't click on that one again. That is not what it's supposed to be. I'll fix that after the show. So, let's get ready to... Let's get you prepped that need prepped. I know I did a little premature trigger warningage there, but here you go. Here's that trigger warning for you.
Warning, the material about to be exposed to is foreign to the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone who may offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out. That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. My plan is to talk about the news without freaking out. Now, this next section it shouldn't be much of a problem for me because I'm actually going to be, I'm going to be doing a news poem here. As you can hear, by the way, you can go to Frico.com. Hold on one second. You can go to Frico.com, and if you scroll on down to the news poem, you could see the latest news poem segment that has been published on the YouTubes, on the Action Batsa YouTube channel. See that? Action Batsa YouTube channel. Hey, it's got 95 subs. It's got one more sub than it had yesterday. Hey, all right. Somebody subbed. Thank you, whoever subbed. I appreciate that. So, let's get ready for that. And you can also get to Frico's iChap. That is something that I produce every week on Saturdays. What I do is I go through and I redo the news poems. I don't do the news part. It's just the poems. That's it. There's in between recording each segment, I do talk during the live stream, but the segments themselves on the Frico's iChaps, they're just poems. Some of them are short, like 2 minutes long. Some of them are longer. Let's get ready for this next segment then. Get ready to look at I'm going to go back to, here we go. I got my checklist up, so I'm looking at my checklist. I think I'm ready. I'm going to switch on over to the news poem segment. See if I got this lined up. That's good. Everything checks out there. Let's see, segment. Okay, so what do we want to do? Where did the segment start? So, let's see. Do I want to go up? Yeah, I want to go up to here. I just want to check something here. Joe, bear with me. Oh, okay. I know it. Okay. I'm trying to figure out, like, when I record the segment, I do one promo per segment, and I want to mix it up. Sometimes I want to do it in the beginning, and sometimes I want to do it at the end. So I think in this case, I'm going to do it at the beginning, actually, because I don't want to tack on anything more to the news poem than I already will with the promotion for the next segment. So that's how we're going to do it, and we'll see how it works. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. This is the news poem for Frico Talks the News on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com. You can get the latest news poem excerpt at YouTube/ActionBatsa. Well, YouTube, just do a search for Action Batsa, and you can get our our playlist right there for the news poem excerpt playlist. Today's news poem: earliest known life forms. News first, poem follows. So, this is an excerpt first. We're just going to start with the excerpt for SciTech Daily, and then, turn you down a little bit. So this is from SciTech Daily. Genetic analysis shows life's earliest evolution was more complicated than previously suspected. New research from Tokyo Tech and the Max Planck Institute suggests understanding early life may be trickier than previously thought. Whoa, what a surprise. The research, published in the Advanced Access edition of the journal Molecular Biology and Evolution, was carried out by Sarah Berkemer, based at the Max Planck Institute for Mathematics and the Sciences in Leipzig, Germany, and Sean McGlynn from the Earth Life Science Institute at the Tokyo Institute of Technology in Japan comes in. Okay, so I missed something there. The research published in Advanced Access edition of the journal was carried out by, carried out by Sarah, based at Max, got that, and also carried out by Sean, okay, so got that, Sean. I don't get this. At the Institute of Technology in Japan comes in. Oh, I get it. Wait, no, I don't. Nope, I don't get it. I don't get the comes in. If any of you guys do, you just let me know what obvious thing I missed for that to actually make sense. The more important thing, though, is the understanding that early life may be trickier than previously thought. What a surprise. Quelle surprise. Our certainties keep getting dangled in front of us, and we're like, we just got it. Look at it. Look, it's a starfish. Look, we're starting to Did you see the center of the starfish? Yeah. It's like 15,000 starfish inside 15,000 starfish. And we have to understand every one of those. What? Yeah. We have to understand like logarithmically more than what we thought we'd have to understand to get to the core building blocks of everything. Yeah? Oh, come on, man. That's kind of what we're finding. But it's leading to applicable science that is revolutionizing human life in what could be potentially consensual in enhancing ways. Stewardship technology, stewarding technologies, technologies that enable you to be a steward of yourself. So their analyses confirm other work which suggested that only a limited understanding of the most ancient cells can be derived from DNA comparison. Okay, only a limited understanding of the lifestyle. Okay. This study marks the first time scientists have been able to say something about the pace of early evolution. This work shows there is a detectable signal of very rapid early evolution. Certainly the Precambrian, we already know the current models of evolution don't explain the Precambrian. Thus, while we may not know exactly what early organisms were like, it seems likely life was mutating and evolving very quickly early on. Nevertheless, McGlynn believes it is still amazing that this limited information can be understood at all, that it still tells us important things about the evolution of life on Earth, and suggests we need to develop new ways of looking at available DNA data to find novel techniques of learning what Earth's earliest life was like. So I think it's a reality of power situation. What you have is what you might want to call mutation. Deviations from the script. The natural I'll say the natural result of living and reproduction is deviation from the script. The question is to what degree, and to what degree do the deviations involve immediate termination, even before the deviations breathe their first, so to speak. But if you have conditions in which there is a wide range of potential significant deviations that might survive, that's probably all the explanation is. It's just when the conditions arise in which deviations can easily survive, you're going to end up with significantly more deviations, more, if you will, if you want to call it experimentation, which puts agency into the affair, and I don't believe agency is in the affair. So I think that it's just the reality of power. We see less deviations amongst most species on the main because deviations produce immediate termination. But you look at human beings and how many more deviations are able to survive now, and what will those ramifications be for the human species? We look at folks that have Down syndrome, and we count that as a deviation, like a cripple. It diminishes them in some capacity compared to what humans who don't suffer in that condition are like on the main in aggregate. But there may be some advantage to the human species, for instance, having the capacity for that type of deviation to thrive. That deviation, that interaction with the rest of us, is going to somehow do things to us. We don't know, but could be, I guess, within the framework of preference, which is, for me, the framework of preference is that all of humanity has the capacity to fully be steward of themselves and to be consensual, associative stewards with others, because that'll always, no matter what technology is, human beings will always need other human beings for that consensuality to be preserved. So that's what and so on that front, I think that the capacity for human beings to allow human beings to experience a quality of life who otherwise would have faced immediate termination, I think that this does tremendous things to build up consensuality on the main in humanity. I won't get into all the reasons why, because this is the news poem, and I've already gone 8 minutes before I've gone the news poem, which is about the limit that I'll allow myself. Discipline, folks, discipline. Here's the news poem. Let me just check something real quick before I go here. You're going fine, you're going fine, right. Here's a news poem. Earliest known life forms. The spirit below the motion was the genetic what-ifs that coiled around that tiny speckled blot. Sigismund was ready to troll. Earth are microorganisms. Ago. The long stroll through the seas, Sigismund had idea. The genetic factory that controls the potential load. I add load. I say it. I visualize it. I seriously hope you, the reader, did as well. Load. A cluster of DNA detritus on the fatty folds of time, so to speak. Microorganisms permineralized. Earth are microfossils, billions years after the oceans. Sigismund was heroic in the manner in which the core explodes and the detritus leaks into the potential around, so that miracles of possible did more than merely flicker for a moment and die. They thrived. They thrived. They thrive ed. Putative fossilized. Ago. Hydrothermal vent precipitates. I am not defined by this. Sometimes. Life is not defined by the forms we hold in our abacus, such as they are today. Not long formed. Time that life, after the formation, ago, 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 ago. I left that load behind and traveled off into the sunset before me and behind me. It was then that I realized I was on the wrong planet, for there was one sole blot in the ether before me. I set down Sigismund and headed for home. This place was too weird for me. That's the end of the news poem. Coming up next, this is the 7 o'clock show on the Action Butza YouTube channel. Coming up next is the Talk Briefs. And the top talk brief today is going to be the Irish consider making social media pay for news links. You, on YouTube's Action Butza YouTube channel, you have to wait until 8 p.m. to get the talk brief. But if you're watching the live stream on dlive.tv/freako.freako, that's Freeqo, then you don't have to wait. Oh yeah, I like that ending. I like that. I like that little. It's so cheesy. If you haven't noticed, now sometimes there's plenty of times I do cheese and kitsch and cringe purely accidentally. Maybe most of the time, but I can assure you at least some of the cheese that you see on this show is most assuredly intended. I love playing in general with the balance between the real and the unreal, the serious and the sarcastic, the LARPing and all that. I like the flittering of thought in those dimensions, not the steady narratives that one or the other might produce. In general, I'm not really keen on steady narratives, but one thing I am keen on is getting this glass of water up in there. I don't have my cup down here. This has been this is the second day. I have to put that on my checklist. Yep, you know what? I'm gonna do it right now, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to put this on here right now. I am typing Hello Kitty water. I need the Hello Kitty water. I think that is what I need. So I typed it down there. So tomorrow's show I will remember. But for today, this is all I got. I'm sorry. I apologize to all of you Hello Kitty Cup fans, and I know Hello Kitty Cup does have a couple of fans. You've let me know. Not an endorsement of Hello Kitty, but heck yes. Hello yes to Hello Kitty for whatever reason. Within reason, I guess, but on the main for most of us decent human beings, for whatever reason, Hello Kitty, yes. Talk briefs. That's what we're going to do next. Let's go to that segment. How about we get this tuned up and ready? And I'm ready to do it through my checklist here. Let's see. I got the check microphone input. We're doing good. We have contact. We are not talking into the void. Not writing, doing little sand paintings. I love sand paintings, but I don't want to do them for this show. I'm not into sand painting for the show. I'd like to hold on to this thought. Certainly, I'd like to document. It's one of the reasons why I do this show, as I like to document what I have a lot of thoughts that I have forming during coronavirus, and I want to see. I think that if I can look back at this period of time at these videos, and I could look at maybe some of the predictions I made, some of the assumptions I had, and where I was right, where I was wrong, that it's going to help me tremendously getting closer to seeing what's there as opposed to what I want to be. And that is a difficult path. That is a very, very painful path. But in the end, I see a lot of very self-serving reasons why I should continue down this brutal path. Even if in the end I find I was deluded the whole time, and everything was always about what I wanted to see, and I could never do otherwise. The journey, the attempt is much better. than not. I'd rather, if I was Sisyphus, would I not roll that thing up to the top, or would I just rest at the bottom? I would roll it up to the top. And every time I'd roll it to the top, it would be with the intention of getting it over. That's what it would be. Even if I knew, I'd be like, I'm just do this until I can't. Because that's more fun anyway. More energy, more exercise, more action. So that's how I view life. I think it really helps. Especially in coronavirus, that really helps a lot, that kind of worldview. All right. Let's get the brief recorded right now. This is the talk briefs for Frico Talks the News on on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com. And our top brief, that music's there is, got to turn you down a little. There, that's a little better. All of these got jacked up a little bit, but that's another story. Doesn't matter. Our top brief. The Irish consider making social media pay for news links. You know what? I'm going to stop this. I didn't get far enough along in this, so I only got about 30 seconds in, so I could do this again. Because that is definitely... There you go. That's where I want it to be. No. Maybe a little bit. There we go. Now, a little bit louder. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a work in progress. These are new things, and new musics, and I did go through the process of this, but I guess I'm hearing it a little bit more now, and I want to make sure I don't drown out myself. All right, let's do this again. Are you guys ready for take 2? Nope. Turn that off. This is the talk briefs for Frico Talks the News on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com. Our top brief, the Irish consider making social media pay for news links. And this is an excerpt from Channel News Asia. Ireland should consider forcing Google, Facebook to pay media for content. The Irish government should consider copying Australia's plan to force Facebook Inc. and Alphabet Inc.'s Google to share advertising revenue with local media, Prime Minister Leo Varadkar said on Friday. Companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, quote, are sort of free riders on costs incurred by other people, unquote. Varadkar, whose country hosts the European headquarters of the largest U.S. tech companies, told journalists. So... That's a growing trend across the universe of spheres, and that is that there are basically what nation states are beginning to understand is that companies like Facebook, I'm going to get in, I got a lot more to say about this, so I won't go into too much detail. But what these countries are starting to realize is that Facebook, Twitter, all these, they live outside the boundaries of these nation states, and they operate in these gray zones where they are able to extract the resources out of the land. And then when they do, quote unquote, give resources back, they do so selectively based upon their particular factional alignments, so they are not serving the whole general. They're taking from all of the country, and then they're selectively, minimally giving back in terms of. And what are they doing? They're minimally giving back in a way in which they're once again though trying to position themselves as actually being the source for news. So they're doing it in a way in which Facebook specifically. They're doing it in a way in which they're going to be the central hub. And they're going to do it without ever having to create a thing. None of it's interesting. The ones that are making the most amount of money and have the most amount of power are the small number of individuals that have the highest stakes and highest benefits from the gazillions of dollars that these content aggregators make. And that's what they are. They're just content aggregators. And they're the ones. And whatever, I'm not a communist, I'm not a socialist. I don't believe in communism, I don't believe in socialism, but I also don't believe in capitalism. And this is capital. This is what capitalism has produced. It has produced this space where these content aggregators can position themselves to be the high priests of the land, the whole land. They are a world empire in and of themselves. And more nation states are starting to understand how that is not. And when I say nation states specifically, I mean the individuals that have the most amount of power in those states. Now, the United States of America is unique. Well, it's not unique. All nation states have degrees of very wealthy people who derive their wealth from selling their country's souls to the highest foreign bidders. All of them have that to a degree. But the United States, I would say, more than most what you call developed nations. Now, the undeveloped nations, it's pretty rampant in their nations too, as far as the people who find themselves in power in the first place are the whores, the ones that are willing to sell the souls of their brothers and sisters to the United States, to China, to Russia, to the highest bidder. Well, now we have that too. We are one of those nations. That's the fundamental problem. That's the fundamental friction. And Google and Facebook and Twitter are a reflection of that reality. And in America, well, I won't get into that. I may get into it later with other stuff. But I'll just leave it at narrowly focused on this story is showing. This is another, they're going after the lifeblood of these companies. They're going right at their hearts. And I can almost guarantee you all these countries that are doing this, they're also talking about their own national infrastructures in which they're not subject to the political ideology. See, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and all those, they forgot that they provided a service. A service was basically it's content aggregation and a platform. It's an aggregation platform is essentially what it is. And they will aggregate this and serve the communities. And a vast swath of worldwide communities. And yet, even though they're serving the ones that preach diversity, they use that as a justification for a lot of the very non-diversity decisions they make. They're the ones that are assuming that the whole of the universe looks in a very... It's not broadly speaking leftist. It's not broadly speaking social justice. It's not broadly speaking progressive. It's a very narrow, specific, absolutist, totalitarian form of these types of constructs. But I don't want to condemn the left and say it's because they're from... No, they've co-opted elements of the left for their own. They're billionaires. They don't fundamentally want what rank and file leftists want. I can assure you that they don't. And that is coming up against the wills of individuals. And in the United States, if you start to get more people making money off of Americans rather than foreigners, well, then the balance of power will shift, and then foreigners will find stuff cut off to them that right now they have access to, and then we'll start to follow the same path as Australia, Ireland, and others, where now we'll begin to look at Google and Facebook as the interlopers that they are to any nation state that invites them in which they're willing to see. They could have held this position if they held to very narrow standards that reached the whole world, that the whole world could fundamentally agree to, and then have some specific narrower definitions within some markets, but and within the American market, the strictest one is the Bill of Rights. You would be here forever, but you decided that you were going to go from being a service provider to a manipulator of human thought and action. And that's where you screwed up. And that's where you're starting to get in the way of the wills of individuals within those nation states who derive their power from the individuals within themselves and not individuals on other shores. That's fundamentally what's going on here. Polygamy advocates lay groundwork for civil rights resolution. Daily Signal. I'll just touch on this briefly. Where are we at here? Activists are moving to this. Oh, this is from Daily. Oh, I said that. Daily Signal. Activists are moving to dismantle the legal and social barriers and say their goals are beginning to take shape. They're laying the groundwork to have their cause become next. Now, I think polygamy for all kinds of reasons is stupid, and I think that it's a health hazard. I think that it's a psychological hazard. When you start to get that in-depth level of interaction with humans, and you start to multiply it, when you add one person to an element, and you've exponentially multiplied the complexity of the relations and the dynamics and the struggles and the frictions, struggles for power, in essence. So I'm totally against it. I think it's really, 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 really just dumb. But I totally support them doing whatever. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't. I care for me personally. I would, if you were if you're a friend of mine and you say, hey, I'm in a polygamous relationship, okay. What do you think of, now if you say, what do you think of a polygamous relationship, I'll tell you. But if you don't, I'm okay with it. I won't say anything. I invite your wives over. I'm not here. That within the Bill of Rights framework, I believe that you should be able to live your life. I don't. Now, you could end up going down, or the SJW authoritarian will take this up, and they'll go from, yeah, okay, that's personal decision. That's cool. Whatever makes them. I don't know what legal. I don't know if you necessarily want to, whatever the legal ramifications are for people being able to be recognized. I don't know. I don't know. I'll leave you all just figure that out. But I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't want to be involved in those struggles, those nation state type struggles. That's not what I'm here. That's not what I'm here for. So work that out. You don't need my moral approval. You don't even, in this case, it's like when it, if you could say, I don't morally disapprove of homosexuality. It's complicated. I do believe homosexuality is a sin, according to my understanding of scripture, such as that is. I have some degree of doubt as to how far as my assessment is, but I don't really view homosexuality as immoral, really. I don't. It's hard. I won't try to explain it right now. I will, as the shows go on, you hear more about how I view that whole issue there, the way that we view morality, immorality within constructs of shared values. That's what we're talking about. So within the constructs of these shared broader values, I view this as being immoral, even outside of, not for Christian reasons, for consensual reasons. I believe this is immoral, sort of, maybe. But I'm totally for those folks living their lives, and I'm not going to be running around telling people, polygamists, that they're immoral and tracking them down and wanting to stigmatize them in any way, shape, or form. And if you want to do a movie in which you got polygamists portrayed in a positive light, whatever, just don't insist that we have every movie has polygamists in it. Don't get militant with it. Don't get authoritarian. Don't start writing laws that demand approval. That's the thing. I don't support that for any group, no matter what your circumstances. Don't demand approval from people at the end of a gun. Demand consensual exchange where exchange occurs, and that's it. That's all you can demand, and I give you that. I give gay people that. I give Muslims that. I give Christians that. I give atheists that. I give men that, women that. Anyone that I meet, I will give. Well, unless I'm acting like an idiot, because I can be non-consensual, because I'm a broken piece of crap, and I know that. That's why I need grace, which is another reason why I need consensuality, because I need, that's part of that. You have grace on people to the degree that you can. Don't let people get a little away with murder. But So I think I'm not going to say anything more about that. Let's see if I'm going to read any more of these. More than 6% of U.S. mortgages in forbearance. I think that speaks for itself. That's from the Hill. I don't need to go into that. That's just pay attention. Pay attention there. AI will be crucial to companies outside of Silicon Valley, and they need a new playbook for it. Fortune, I don't really want to read too much into this. This is basically telling companies they have to prepare, even right now, even before they get the AI, they have to start to build in the cost and the infrastructure of supporting the development of AI. This is where it starts. Now, what you really want, and now I can tell you this much, companies will definitely want to be able to create their AIs in-house. They do not want to have, especially companies that can afford it, and increasingly smaller and smaller companies will be able to afford it. They don't want their AIs coming cookie cutters from some other source that is sending that same cookie cutter to other places. They want their own unique, powerful AIs with their own unique circumstances, and they're going to be calibrated, and it's going to be stuff. It's going to be stuff. Welcome to the AI race. That's what it is. And my AI race, though, is to open sourcing and individuals having the power to create their own AIs. That's what this is all about. There's one of the essential technologies that we as individuals, as consensual-minded individuals, have to fight for. Keeping that open and free. Keeping that Promethean fire burning on that technology. Keeping the Promethean fire burning across all these essential technologies. That's the goal here. I got another goal for you, because this is the end of this segment, the brief segment, and that is to get your Freako's Daily Freaks. Just enter your email and click subscribe. You can find that on the front of Freako.com, and you can go to Freako.com/daily, and you can enter your email there. Coming up next is the Dialectical. This has been the 8 p.m. show on the Action Batsa YouTube channel. And coming up at the 9 p.m. time is the Dialectical. Today's Dialectical, starting to sense a little bit of a pattern going on in this episode. Twitter has a nation-state problem, as do all other digital highways not serving nation-states. If you're on the Action Batsa YouTube channel, well, if you go to the Action Batsa YouTube channel, you can get the latest Dialectical excerpts there. You can, just save that playlist to your playlist, and you have it all the time, and it'll be there for you. Bada boom, bada bing. That's on the Action Batsa YouTube channel. But you're going to have to wait until 9 p.m. to hear the Dialectical for the day. But if you're with me live, starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the dlive.tv/Freako, that's FREEQO channel, then you don't have to wait. Boom. Boom. And the music goes off. Well, I got one more show. My throat really, I tell you, toward the end of the show, the throat really starts to say, dude, what are you doing? Why are you doing this every day? I'm like, 'cause it's fun. All right. But you better rest between. And I do. Oh, that's better. That's a bit of a coating that I definitely needed, but I didn't want to interrupt that flow with that, so I soldiered on. Even my throat was like, I continued to soldier on like a champ. All right, it's champ. You call me champ. That's my name. It's not my name. Don't call me champ. I would literally punch you in. No, I would not punch you in the face. I would not. Would you punch someone in the face for calling you champ? I would not. I'm just saying. Random thought. Totally random. Totally unrelated to everything we were talking about. Let's get ready to record this Dialectical. I got my little checklist here. Got my microphone on. I can see the microphone showing up there. Got ready to click my Dialectical by musics, and I got ready to record, and we're going to record in 3, 2, 1. This is the Dialectical for Freako Talks the News on Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. And my name is Freako with Freako.com. Our Dialectical today, well, it's this. Twitter has a nation-state problem, as do all other digital highways not serving nation-states. Conservatives are picking up on the, quote, Twitter is more loyal to China than Americans narrative. A narrative I not only support, but I implore all Americans to support as well. But, like so many other factionalistas, they've decided to put themselves in the center of the plot, so to speak. I'm the victim this time. I face the terror of a whole nation, China, and its enabler, Twitter. The issue of Twitter as a holder of America's and half or more of the other nation states' superhighways goes far beyond the Prague Con Kabuki theater you got going on there in the 50. This is where the full saturation of global world citizen-based structures clash with the reality of power structures of nation states, such as the United States or any other nation state for that matter. Let's get to this excerpt before we go a little further in deconstructing the conservative glaze from the reality of power that is Twitter versus nation statism. Here's an excerpt from Education Views. Americans want to know why Twitter is targeting right-wing misinfo while giving China, WHO, a pass. Conservatives are asking why Twitter is targeting claims that cause widespread panic while turning a blind eye to the false information emanating from China and the World Health Organization. They're also skeptical of the company's reliance on automated algorithms. Twitter skeptical. That's understating it. Twitter updated its policy Wednesday governing misinformation to include nixing unverified claims that cause widespread panic or encourage people to burn fifth-generation mobile service towers out of concern that they are carrying coronavirus. Conservatives say the update is too vague and could potentially hit many people who are not promoting misinformation. Let me tell you, this is so stupid. Let me just say this about this whole thing. Unverified claims that cause widespread panic or encourage people to burn fifth-generation mobile service towers. I believe in vehicles of power. I don't believe in ideology. I don't believe in understanding the logic, what seems like illogic. People are burning. They need to find a justification to do something that they know goes far outside the parameters of what their society would allow. In this case, because not so much because they want to follow society, because they fundamentally understand the reality of power. If they do that, they could face serious consequence. Not just getting caught, but the whole, it would be bad. So rather than do things that they know, even for them, might even violate their own standards, they have to come up with spooks and ghosts and hobgoblins and mystical whatevers to try to do what they it's like a passive aggressive act is what it is. Passive aggressive. I can't really just confront this tower and tell you what I really mean, what I really understand, what everybody understands is these 5Gs, the networks themselves. It's like 5G is not the threat. The problem is who has the tools. When you have artificial scarcity created through limited ownership of the mechanisms through which 5G will exist, and on platforms that offer no open source to their technologies and have zealous IP and patent wars going on, that climate is an invasive climate that violates our bills of rights. These are massive states that are invading our private space, violating our Fourth Amendment rights on a daily basis. That's what this becomes. And people just can't confront that ugly truth. So rather than that, that's why they're really burning these 5G towers. This isn't producing This isn't, disinformation isn't producing violence. Disinformation is giving violence a vehicle of power to express itself. But I can assure you that disinformation doesn't have to exist on Twitter. All that has to exist is within the reality of power that you have human beings who have come to believe, rightly or wrongly, that there is nothing but loss in the system that is, or the system that is becoming. And that's when this happens. That's it. It's as simple as that. It's not any of this spooks, ghosts, and none of these efforts to control dangerous thoughts will limit the madness that's to come when a land continues to produce an increasing number of human beings who've come to look at the system and said, this is all loss. That's what's occurring. That's what's occurring. Because you are continuing to suck all of the resources out of our minds and concentrate them in the hands of an increasing number of few who have increasingly lowered IQs and maturity levels. They speak in crayon openly now. Donald Trump is the crayon president. This is the crayon age. I mean, the age of Coronaville is contained within the crayon age, but it's only a part of it. The crayon age, this is when everything's written in crayon, colored in crayon. It's that level of discourse, that level of thought, that level of maturity, that level of control. That's the world we live in. So Twitter, that's the end of the excerpt. Twitter is not, well, that part wasn't an excerpt, that was me tangenting there a bit, but that's okay. I'm well within my space here. Twitter is not merely targeted Americans, but selectively nations, and also selectively politicians, not just here in America, but around the world. Bolsonaro, the Brazilian president, faced Twitter censorship, as has President Donald Trump. Now, I really, if I had more time to do things, maybe if I had a research team that could help, I don't remember the specifics, but I do remember instances of various local politicians in other countries, and I would have to go. I didn't have the time to stop, but I'm sure if you know what I'm talking about, type down in the comments below if that's true. But beyond the American cocoon we mostly live in, Twitter is doing similar things selectively in other nation states as well. Outside of censoring politicians and world leaders, Twitter also has selectively and rigorously assigned and enforced value according to a very specific, as in one small fraction of humanity that holds to this view at its core, but yet broad-reaching set of morality constructs born from the most authoritarian and extreme versions of social justice, what I simply refer to as SJW authoritarianism. And I always do that because I always want to make sure I do not want to try to contribute to the destruction or stigmatization of social justice as a discipline, because there's a lot of really good fruit there. I wouldn't want you to throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. Even just there's some good things in conservative thought as well. I wouldn't want that thrown out. I wouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater with that either. This moral code is the basis for which Twitter censors world leaders and destroys voices on the world superhighway. This is the vehicle of power that many organizations such as Twitter have adopted. Organizations that I would classify as de facto states in and of themselves, with budgets larger than many nation states. They serve the world and offer no allegiance or identity to any other nation state. And that was fine when, one, they had significantly less power, significantly less users from around the world, and two, when they were not rigorously applying governance standards that began affecting significant business owner, leader, peoples, and politician, even scientists, and the heavy hitters of society start to get slammed by your particular ideological constructs on superhighways. that their country has no way of holding you accountable for. See, that's the problem. SJW as a consensual discipline can lead to profound levels of self-awareness and changes in how you view and interact the world. And I'll say briefly, I have within me a lot of thought that you could definitely say is kind of SJW in nature, but I got it before SJW was, I guess, a thing. The phrase social justice I had heard a long time ago, but social justice warrior, SJW, and all that back in the late 80s, early 90s when I was going to college. And I was basically, well, for all of the 90s, basically, the whole 90s, even outside of college, I was an artist, a poet. I still am a poet. You guys know because I do a poetry thing now. But I was very much into a lot of the schools of thought from which you see SJW has emerged. So I've definitely, in a lot of ways, I understand the world a lot better. Deconstructivism. I could tell you deconstructivism was one of the keys for me and being able to understand the power that I had to seek to understand the world on my terms rather than allowing myself to be continued to be filled by the thoughts of others who did not have my best interests at heart. I learned that from SJWism, so I wouldn't want to throw that out. But like any discipline, it can be turned into a whip that keeps groups of people separated from one another. When white privilege becomes a pejorative meant to immediately subhumanize the other, you enter the world of the authoritarian SJW, a world mostly occupied by wealthy white people and their lesser wealthy white children. Now I say that, I know I wrote that sentence, and I can't be sure that I'm 100% true, but I'm willing to bet that they are probably at the very least the plurality of folks, and that they have by far and away the most power in terms of the money that decides who gets to be an activist on Fox News shouting down Tucker Carlson and who gets ignored and who gets also banned on Twitter, because Twitter's banning people from all factions. Their faction is a very narrow slither of what you imagine the left is. And most of the people on the left are starting to understand that unless you fit into their orthodoxy, it doesn't matter if you're from the left, doesn't matter if you were part of SJW 10 years ago. You don't fit anymore in their world. You're outside the orthodoxy now. And I'm here to tell you, despite my best efforts to dazzle you with awesome persuasions to the contrary, nation-statism, Twitter, is still very much firmly in the hearts and minds of 99+% of Americans and most people in the world. Most people, they may imagine the end of their state, and even some of them may say they're anarchists, but by and large, most of them just want to kill one psychopath enabling system for another. That's it. And that's what these systems are, the way I view them, psychopath enabling system. Because you got to be a psychopath to do the work that these folks do. I couldn't do it. With no faction offering anything that will significantly, well, just like I say, they're not offering anything that will significantly break us from that governance model in the very near future or the mid-future. Chairman Xi promises the Chinese people that they'll finally get to anarchy. That is the goal, ostensibly, is to get to anarchy, by the way, just so you know. That's China's goal. They're anarchists. And they promise that within 100 years, they're going to get there. But it means that right now, they got to go in the opposite of anarchy, which actually in a dialectical mindset, and even mine, I have that type of mindset. I fully understand how sometimes when you push away from something, you end up faster towards where you really want to go. So it's almost like a boomerang effect sometimes. So there is some logic to that. But in this case, it's not. They're just, yeah. So the conservative narrative puts them in the center of the fight against, and this is what agitates me when I see it on all sides, how they do this, how they co-opt a legitimate issue and they make it so theirs that they force the other factions to actually take the quote-unquote bad guy side, relatively speaking, based on your framework of preference. The conservative narrative puts them in the center in the fight against real forces working to reduce our American quality of life to theoretically increase the quality of life primarily of themselves and secondarily for the people that Z owns. That center is not theirs to hold. It is for ours. Those of us that find ourselves living in this geographical plane within the boundaries of the governance of the United States of America, one of 180 so nation states on planet Earth, so long as we stand committed to the nation-state model. And as I said, that's not changing anytime soon. That is the reality of power, and I'm not stupid enough to try to act like it isn't. And again, I wish I could green Thanos stamp us all to a place where we absolutely wouldn't need it. We really wouldn't. And we would have all the things government currently does for us. We would do. We would have our governance. We would have what we would, maybe we'd still call things government, but it would be radically different than what we have. It would be very consensual. It would be very different. Our geography demands we stand against those who seek to subvert our influence, our resources, our very minds to the conditions of fascist nation states that would have us become more and more like them, but always a diminished version of their world-leading ways. That's this right here. I have show notes that I've been creating, and I may very well do a special sometime soon, just on Chairman Z, so you understand what I'm talking about. I'm not crazy. I know I sound like it, but when I show you what this man has written, what is part of their doctrine as a nation state right now, you'll understand. I'm not making crap up. I'm not hyperbolic. This, my friends, is the vision of Chairman Z, and you take this man lightly, and China, the nation state under his command, lightly, if you do not imagine you and I are at risk of losing far more than what has occurred and is occurring during coronavirus. But the conservatives have turned this reality of power, the existential threat to our level of ease living by China, and the American traitors from within, traitors that wear elephant ears and donkey tails and run our biggest companies, including our media, our culture, our digital superhighways, and more, into a factional vehicle of power that for the left is one they can ill afford to enable conservatives to drive. Especially with Donnie at the helm. A whipped-up hate against China is just what the nationalists need right now. And it will hurt the very conservative poors that will fall for that old song every bit as much as it will hurt the Prague poors. That's right, I just called China a fascist state. But I do not morally judge a fascist state inside the parameters of nation-statism, because to me, fundamentally all states are fascists that just wish they had the power to fully be what they really are. America is a fascist state that hasn't had the full power to be what it wants to be, what all nation states in the end want to be. It is only the limitation of the consolidated power to do so that prevents it from fully entering into that zone. And America is in a much better position still to ward off this fascism from becoming truly a core part of everything we are. Although we're on the precipice, and it's leftist and rightist fascism competing for the helm. But in this case, the conservatives are absolutely using this as an opportunity to demonize China, while America does everything that China has done to us, to other nations, and in some instances even worse. So we have no stones to throw at China. And China, I mean, we doesn't mean we can allow China to do what it's continued to do. We cut off China. We don't cut off China from our lives. We can't do that. Well, we could, but I think it would be stupid. But we can cut off China from having vital control over our lives. And the enemy is not China. Ultimately, China does what nation states do. What America does. America, whatever power vacuum there is, a nation state will fill it. And China oozed in. They oozed into our life. Because we let them in. We did. We are the ones that did this to ourselves. We are our own enemies here, not China. Most rank-and-file conservatives and Democrats, if they knew each other outside the hype of hate their faction leaders, media signalers, and manipulators keep them conditioned to stay in, would find plenty of reason to join the fight for our well-being, but not to fight China. Like I'm saying, we are not coming together. We should not come together to fight China, but to fight the people from within, across the political divides, who created their power and sold their souls by selling ours to the highest foreign bidder. And it just so happens that China is the biggest customer. The fight against these people is not against their physicality, their personal or property physicality, but destroying their artificially created intellectual and material scarcity advantage. And if you destroy the intellectual, the material advantage the material scarcity advantage they have will also disappear in short order. China, outside of his fascist ideology, which is Chairman Xi's, who, let me remind you, those that find in Xi a convenient ally against a fellow American you deem worse than China, because that's a position that the conservatives seem to be trying to put the left in, and many people from the left are falling for it. That Chairman Xi has the power to order any citizen be murdered at any time, and can do openly, not secretly like most decent psychopaths do. That's an extra level psychopath power. Not necessarily that Donnie is more or less a psychopath than Xi, just that Donnie doesn't have the capacity to entertain the full psychopath within. So if he, I don't know what he would be like if he had the capacity to be what Xi is. Not there's only one Xi. He is the apex existential that walks the earth today. There's no doubt about that. And it's on terms of, does America have more power? Does China? Well, in terms of real power, China has more power because America's power is so significantly divided right now. I want no war with China, nor should you. Whipping Americans to hate the Chinese will ultimately only make money, gazillions of it, for the same people on the left and the right who've put us in this vulnerable state in the first place. We buy souls of many a people around the world, and we still are. We Americans, through our nation state, it goes every day. We buy souls. And many nations still selling their souls, their citizen souls to us right now. And we're buying, and they're selling. China is doing what we do, what we've been doing, and they found buyers, lots of them. And these buyers were willing to destroy everything, and still are, to hold on to that Beijing money tie, that sweet, easy dollar. That's what it's about. Dollar is power. Dollar is influence. Dollar is control of force. Dollarism buys force. Most of us aren't even part of this conversation. The R&D paradigm, the SJW shrilleries, the traditionalists, the nationalists, all of them are vehicles of power for the same billionaires that keep paying the creators, the gatekeepers, the thought leaders to keep these veils between us. Veils that protect them from us discovering the truth. The same people who have been buying up the IPs, colonizing the minds, creating the digital scarcities that create real physical scarcities are the ones who have been dealing our souls to the highest foreign power bidder, all for that dollar. All that you hate, all that you love, mostly, has been created for you by them, the Citadelians. The ones pulling your strings, pulling the SJW here, the MAGA there, with the same hand, the same string, only different hats and dyed hair. Twitter represents the apex existential of that power. The power of the Citadelians, the unaccountable, the people who walk beyond the boundaries of nation states. Nation states are for poor people, after all, and that's just about everyone reading this now or listening to this, no matter what part of the world you come from. The divide is not rich or poor. It's Citadelian versus the poors. And many of you, you may be millionaires, But I assure you, you're one of the poor's, because at a moment's notice, it can all be taken away because you're not in. You're not in enough. Maybe you made your millions in some strange way, some digital way. Somebody bought all your CDs or whatever, but fundamentally, you're not in. You may be rich, you may have a nice house, but you're still one of the poor's. You're still as vulnerable as us. Should you fall outside the orthodoxy of those that have the citadelian power to walk the land with impunity. Twitter is an enemy of the poor's. It's not conservative versus the world. It's the poor's versus the citadelians. And the poor's are right, left, and all points in between and outside those parameters altogether. As are the citadelians, by the way. You got libertarian citadelians, you got progressive citadelians, conservative. They all have their vehicles of power. That's all they are, vehicles of power. You don't understand a human being by understanding what they believe. Tell me what a man believes and show me nothing. Show me what a man wants and you show me his heart and soul. That's the way I view the world. So at the end of the day, which side are you on? Conservatives? Progressives? Are you on the side of the citadelians or the poor's? And if you're on the poor's side, there's a space for us to talk. There's a space for us to come to strategically rid ourselves of this meddlesome priest that I can assure you means to strike all of us down. Because all of us, in the end, can't exist within the orthodoxies that they're dreaming up. And I think I'll end that there. That's the end of the dialectical. So this is the end of the Action Bots shows on YouTube's. This is the last segment of the day. Be sure to join us tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the first segment, which will be the headline segment. However, if you don't want to wait and you want to see all the juicies in the flow and how it was all created and the soup was made, then head on over to where everybody is right now that's also listening to this, if they're listening to this at the 12:30 p.m. live show on dlive.tv/Freako. If you don't have a DLive account, get a DLive account and be sure that you follow me. Follow me, please. I will be mostly concentrating on the DLive channel. And don't forget to tip your Freako at Freako.com tips. Send me your money, and I'll thank you metaphorically. And that's all I promise. I thank you metaphorically. We'll see you tomorrow. If you'll join us live, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If not, we'll see you tomorrow once again, 4 p.m. Alrighty. So there you go. I've done the show. I've gotten her done. It's 3 o'clock. That's not bad. That's not bad, especially because, oh no, I got started on time today. Yesterday I had a little bit of an issue there, but I managed to coagulate and matriculate and splabulate the artifactions. And so because of that, I was able to arrive here on time in a judicious manner, although I did let the song go a little bit longer in the loop, but that's fine. I thank everybody who joined me live. I think I've got, the last time I had a total through all of my networks of 12 people that listened live. So I appreciate the 12 people that listen across all the platforms live. You're the cat's meow. I don't say anything about Twitch because I don't think this is real. I live stream to Twitch, but I don't think anybody cares about this type of content on Twitch. So, but if you are watching on Twitch, hey, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And if ever I suddenly get an audience on Twitch, I assure you I will follow where the flow goes. So if the flow says, hey, all of a sudden Twitch is where it's at, then I'll stop hawking DLive and I'll go more with Twitch. But right now, DLive is where I think I have the best chance to build some sort of regular audience. And then get everybody over to Freako.com. That's where you want to do. You want to go to Freako.com and sign up and register on the site so that you're with the site, you're with me, and you're going to get those regular updates. Now, When you sign up right now, you're probably not going to get the updates yet. I might be maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks away from really firmly figuring out. I got issues, and during the week, I don't have much time to work on the type of problem that is. That's probably a 8 to 10 hour, at best, probably journey to try to figure out how to get the thing working the way I want it to, and I don't have that during the week. Because I just don't. I got to keep these shows humming. Got to keep this content flowing, baby. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and good night. See you tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same channel, dlive.tv/freako.
Thank you for engaging with this material presented. As usual, remember your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman, nor do they permit you to subhumanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harm on anyone who hasn't directly harmed or threatened to harm others first, no matter how reprehensible we find your views.
We will see you in the next Freako Talks, where Freako attempts to talk about news without freaking out.